Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. With there only being a couple of days of June left, it is indeed time for my annual LGBT related video. I always post these videos in June because that gives them the highest chance of getting as many views as possible. Don't say it's to farm views. It works. It's a strategy that clearly works because the past 2 years of me doing this, the video I made in 2022 has over 250 views, and the video I made last year has over 100 views. So clearly it works. But today we're going to be talking about what is, in my opinion, the best written LGBT character in The Last of Us. Is it Dina? No. Is it Lev? No. Is it Riley? No. Is it Ellie? No. It's Bill. We're going to be talking about why Bill is the greatest LGBT character and best well-written one in the whole of The Last of Us. Now, we're going to mostly be talking about Bill from the game, not the show, as I've not actually watched the show, but I have seen different clips and parts of the Bill episode, so I do have some understanding of the story, but we're mostly going to be talking about Bill from the game. So, you may have heard in many videos over the past couple of years of me and Dean in either my videos or more probably his, just reciting lines from the show, from the game that Bill has said. Our favourite line, of course, being, "Bill, can we just get on with it? Here, let's get on with it." You may have heard us say that many, many times. Just get on with it. I mean, from the moment you meet Bill, you immediately know he's a badass. Even the first line in the whole game he has is iconic, in my opinion. When Ellie cuts the rope so Joel falls back down after being caught in one of Bill's traps, Bill slices the infected's head off with a machete and then says to Joel, "Get off your ass and on your feet." Thanks, Bill. So one of the best things about Bill is he's really damn funny. That's a big part of his character. He's just really, really funny. Some lines that you can use for explaining how funny he is. Well, I've already used two of them. Well, I guess "get off your ass and on your feet" isn't quite as funny as "just get on with it." After Bill saves Joel and Ellie, once that first cutscene with all three of them together, when that first cutscene has played with them, as Bill is leading the way, he's saying quietly to himself, but you can still hear him, "You shouldn't let yourself get dragged into this bullshit, Bill. What you should have done, should have left him." And he does that quite a lot. He even says to Joel, "What are you delivering? That little brat?" And Ellie says, "Ha ha, you too." Honestly, Bill and Ellie's back and forth throughout the whole time you spend with Bill is one of the best parts of the Bill's Town section. Bill and Ellie's back and forth, constantly bickering with each other. It's such great comedy. And comedy that Joel doesn't really take any part in. It's just Bill and Ellie. Such as when you get to a section with a bunch of cars, Ellie says, "Why don't you just fix one of these cars?" And Bill says, "Oh my god, you're right, you're a genius. All this time, why don't I just fix one of these cars?" Okay, don't be a dick. And now that I've explained the funny part of him, what makes him well written as an LGBT character is when in the cutscene where Bill gives Joel the shotgun, because Joel tells Bill he can't simply just leave Ellie. Bill says to Joel, I had someone I cared about. I had someone that I cared about. It was a partner. Whoa, Bill, no one is judging you here. You don't have to say it so aggressively. No one's judging you. He said, someone I had to look after. The reason why Bill says the word partner is because he's too... I don't know, he doesn't want to say the word boyfriend, but that's exactly what he means. That was the first hint the game gives you that Bill is actually gay. Then, throughout the further into Bill's town you get, he starts talking a little bit more about the partner, who of course is Frank. And when you finally find the car that you were looking for, when you get into the house that has the car in the garage of the house, Frank is hanging from the ceiling, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And Joel says, you know this guy or something? And he says, Frank. Who the hell's Frank? He was my partner. That is who Bill was referring to earlier on. Frank even wrote a note for Bill, knowing that at some point Bill would end up going to this very house, and Joel can pick it up and read it, give it to Bill, then Bill reads it and says, that's how you feel? Well, fuck you too, Frank. And then he throws he crumples it up and then throws it on the floor, and then you can pick it up again. In the Part 1 remake, you actually get a trophy for doing this. So Bill and Frank clearly had a troubled relationship, but then Frank got bitten and hung himself because he didn't want to turn. Although, how would that even work? Wouldn't you still turn anyway? Because you're not actually doing any damage to your head, which is the only way to prevent yourself from becoming infected after you've been bitten. I'm not sure how that works. So you work out that by the end of your time with Bill, you work out that what Bill was really talking about was that Frank was his boyfriend, but he didn't want to say, for whatever reason, Bill wouldn't specifically say that. But the game doesn't shove it in your face. It actively gives you little hints to help, so you can work it out for yourself what Bill really means when he's talking about Frank. Now I guess we can talk a little bit about the show. So Bill's episode of the show completely diverts from what happens in the game. You wouldn't even know that this was the game being adapted for the show because it's so vastly different. Frank is alive in the show, something he was not in the game. There's no subtlety whatsoever about Bill and Frank's relationship in the show. It's really shoved in your face. Whereas I believe the game did a much better job at showing Bill and Frank's troubled relationship, because they didn't actually show the relationship happening. They just give you little hints by things Bill says to you throughout the game. And Bill from the show is he's just not the same character. Like, there's a scene where he's shooting at, I think he's shooting at the military. He doesn't have a bulletproof vest on. He doesn't have any cover, no nothing. And then he gets shot. Bill from the game would never have been stupid enough to do something like that. Bill from the game was significantly smarter than Bill from the show. And personally, I believe that if Bill from the game met Bill from the show, Bill from the game would actively dislike Bill from the show. He would actively dislike his TV show counterpart. And probably one of the biggest differences between the game and the show is that Ellie and Bill in the show never even meet. Bill and Ellie's constant back and forth bickering with each other in the game is one of the highlights of Bill's town. Those two constantly arguing with each other. That's one of the highlights of Bill's town in the game, because it's great. It gives great comedic feeling whilst you're not having to, when you're not fighting the infected. Whereas in the show, Bill and Ellie never even meet. Like, I remember last year when episode 3 of The Last of Us show aired, which is the Bill episode, people were calling it the greatest episode of TV ever made. Like, whoa, steady on there. Let's just take it back a notch. Really, the best TV show episode ever made. Anyone who had criticism of this episode, mostly it being the complete lack of subtlety between Bill and Frank's relationship, heavily shoving it in your face, compared to the subtle and much more nuanced way that the game handled Bill's relationship with Frank. With how game development is nowadays, if The Last of Us Part 1 was made today, Bill and Frank's relationship in the game would be a lot closer than what it is in the show, I bet, if it was made today rather than 11 years ago. But yeah, Bill and Frank's relationship was handled so brilliantly in the game, allowing you to work out for yourself what Bill was really meaning when he was talking about his partner. Almost as if he's too ashamed to say the word boyfriend to Joel and Ellie. I mean, at this point, we did not know Ellie was gay at the time, because we don't know that until the Left Behind DLC. So we did not know that Ellie was gay at the time that we spent with Bill. So Bill was the very first LGBT character in The Last of Us that we actually knew about before we found out about Ellie. And the way they handle Ellie and Riley's relationship in Left Behind is very similar to Bill and Frank. It's not in your face at all. They slowly build it up throughout the entire DLC. Then, of course, the Ellie and Riley kiss right at the end of the DLC is the payoff for everything that we've been building up to. Whereas in The Last of Us Part 2 and, of course, the show, there's absolutely no subtlety whatsoever. They just shove it in your face. Shoving it in your face is not good writing. The way they showcased it in the game is much better writing. Because it gives the people playing the game the task of working it out. What does Bill really mean? And of course, the payoff is that you find out what Bill really meant by partner when you see Frank hanging from the ceiling. And that is why Bill from The Last of Us Part 1 game is the best written LGBT character in the entirety of The Last of Us. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and until we meet again, farewell.